Having worked at 6 different major theme parks, including all 4 of the Walt Disney World ones, I have people ask a lot, well, what was your favorite park to work at? Well, maybe I can try and answer it this way. So I had a lot of fun working at 6 different theme parks. I've worked at Busch Gardens in Florida as a Rhino Rally driver. I've worked at Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri as a train robber and conductor. And then I spent 5 years working as a PhotoPass photographer at all 4 of the major Walt Disney World theme parks. Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, Disney MGM, or Hollywood Studios, depending upon what time area you're at. I've also worked at various other places around Walt Disney World. But with those 6 parks, people often wonder, well, what was your favorite to work at and why? Now, I want to give you a little caveat right away that my favorites change sometimes depending upon the mood. So as I record this video, these are my 6 favorites. But depending upon what I was doing at the park that day and where I was shooting photos, this order could change some as well. Also, even though I may have a park that I will say is my least favorite, I still absolutely loved working at it. There was not one of these parks I did not love working at and thoroughly enjoy. So please don't say, oh, he hated working there. That's not what I'm saying. Don't quote me that way. These were just the parks that I enjoyed working at, from the one I enjoyed to the one I absolutely loved. Number 6 on my list is Animal Kingdom. This is actually the park that I worked at the least. I only worked there probably 5, maybe 6 times, if that. I was not as familiar with Animal Kingdom. I didn't know where all the break rooms were and my way around the backstage area because I wasn't there very often. And that makes a big deal on whether you enjoy a place. It's also, just because it kind of sits in the bowl and has a lot more vegetation, is the most humid park. Which means if you're outside in the summer on a warm day, it feels the hottest of all the parks. So that was kind of eh. And then, again, just not knowing a lot of people at the park made it a little more awkward. I still had a lot of fun, enjoyed what I did there. When you're kind of the odd man out and they don't know you and you don't know them, you don't always get some of the best assignments either. But I still had a blast working there. Loved working the Tree of Life. Loved working with some of the characters I got to work with there. Loved my couple times at Rafiki's Planet Watch. So it did have a lot of fun places as well. It just happened to be the one I didn't do the most. Number 5 for me would be Disney's Hollywood or Disney MGM Studios. This park for the Disney parks actually probably had the best break room. It had a company D right in the break room, which meant you could buy your pins on the way into lunch. That was a bad thing. It was a good thing, but it was a bad thing. And I enjoyed a lot of the people at Hollywood Studios. In fact, there's a lot of times that Hollywood Studios kind of moves its way up on this list for me, especially during events. If it was like Star Wars weekend, I absolutely loved working at studios during Star Wars weekends. That was just like incredible. It was a prize deal, and like when I could get those shifts, they were great. So Disney Hollywood Studios had a lot for it, but at the same time, it was kind of, even back when I worked there, it was a park kind of struggling with its theme. It was the working studios, but it wasn't a working studio, and it was starting to realize it didn't quite know what it was, and that eventually got much worse as they began really starting to revamp and change things, and, you know, of course, now it's in the midst of major transformation. But that kind of affected the atmosphere of the park a little bit as well. People coming into the park weren't quite sure what it was, and so they were there, they were enjoying it, they were having fun, but it affected how they worked with the photographers. Not in a big way, but it was one that was just subtly noticeable. And then especially towards the end of my time there, as they got rid of the daytime parades and they started eliminating some of the things that really kind of helped pump up the crowd a little bit and had fun with them. Number 4, Busch Gardens. Now, I loved my job as a Rhino Rally driver. I was a goof, and so I was getting paid to be a goof for the guests and tell stupid jokes, and it was a blast. Things I wasn't as keen on, to go to a major break room or cafeteria was a long walk from where we were at. Our break room was okay. Those trucks, particularly in the summer, were hot. There was We supposedly had fans in the Land Rovers that blew on us, but most of the time they didn't work, and you would boil in those things. So that made it a little bit rough, but it was just a fun job. I would have liked ways to maybe interact a little more outside of the ride with guests, but that was hard because if you're working the lines, it's just trying to get people through and on. But I had a lot of fun with it. It was a neat ride. I only did it part-time for the couple years I was there for the most part. So holiday weeks, I was there all the time, and then on weekends. But there was a lot of ways with Busch Gardens that at Rhino Rally, we kind of felt like the ignored stepchild that was out there in the woods a little bit, because we were kind of isolated from much of the rest of the park. And it felt with some of the interactions with others. Not in a bad way, but that's kind of the little things that knock it down just a little bit. Number 3. Epcot. Epcot could be my favorite park to work at, or it could be my most hated park to work at. There were a couple places I absolutely hated working. Hated working a test track, because you're just standing there trying to scan pictures in a hurry and not even talking to people. And possibly the worst place to work at Walt Disney World was test track as a PhotoPass photographer. And then character spot was just this mammoth rush through, and we would shoot thousands of pictures a day if we were character spot all day, to the point where your hand would actually hurt. So I didn't like working at character spot because there just wasn't time for interactions. It was come up, sign the book, pose for the picture, see ya. And that was about it. So those 2 spots I didn't like, and they were possibly my least favorite spots at Walt Disney World to work as a photographer. But at the same time, it also had some of my favorite places. For my last couple years, I worked in the World Showcase a lot, which meant I may be with a character such as Snow White or Mulan for a lot of the day. But then I also had what was called rover shifts. And essentially, a rover meant I got to wander around within certain limits and just take pictures of guests wherever they were and whatever the backdrop was, and just have a lot of fun and be creative and find new things constantly. And that was a blast. It was basically them giving me a license to say, hey, go make it up as you go. Okay, I can do that. So I really, really enjoyed my rover shifts. I really enjoyed working with some of the characters. I got to know Pooh Bear and Tigger and Mulan very well. Got to make friends with them. Had Snow White that was a good friend as well because of my time working there. So had a lot of fun with that. I just didn't like character spot and test track. The one other issue I had at Epcot was the drunks. I've mentioned this in a couple other videos, but people who thought it was fun to drink their way around the world, and by the time they get 2/3 of the way around World Showcase, were kind of schnockered, and a lot of times they could be a pain in the neck. I ran into far more pain in the neck drunks than I did fun, friendly ones. Sorry, that's just my experience, and that would probably be the one knock I had against working World Showcase at Epcot. Number 2. Silver Dollar City, working on the train. Honestly, I can say there's very little I didn't like about Silver Dollar City. It was a crazy time. Again, I got paid to be a goof and tell stupid jokes and act like a numbskull and play with the guests. And what is there not to like about that? It was an insanely fun job, and in 3 years, I might have had one bad day, maybe. I don't even know I could say that. It was just a ton of fun constantly. And we're always trying something new with the show. And Silver Dollar City also took care of a lot of its employees. It had a nice employee cafeteria. Not fancy, but it had good food at good prices, good management. There wasn't anything really wrong with management at any of the others as well. And I tried not to let management influence my role, but I got along really well with my leaders at Silver Dollar City, to the point where the guy that was actually our lead on the train, we used to have contests as to who could scare each other. It was fun. We got paid to play and had a ball doing it. Got to make good friends with a lot of regular guests and other employees. Silver Dollar City is the one park I worked at where you were not segregated by where you worked. Disney and Busch Gardens, you socialized with your coworkers, you ate with your people at the same ride or location or your department, and you stayed in your little group. Disney, we ate with the photographers and sometimes the characters, and we didn't go outside of those bounds for the most part. Silver Dollar City, everybody mixed together. We'd have breakfast and you would have ride operators and entertainers and merchandise people and I mean just a whole big mix together, and we had a great time. It really was like a big family in that way. Silver Dollar City was awesome. And loved my time there. I'd go back if I could. It's changed some. There are certain things that I wish I could do now that I couldn't, but I still absolutely love Silver Dollar City, which is why I still visit a lot. But my number one park, and again, this would change a little bit on the mood, but my number one park, though, would be Magic Kingdom. And especially in the days when it had Toontown. Toontown was probably my single favorite place to work. It was just an insanely fun place to work with the characters and see such incredible magic moments. But the magic is really what separated Magic Kingdom. People, when they think of Disney, Magic Kingdom is what they think of. And when you see them walk in to the park for the very first time, and especially as they come around the corner and see the castle for the first time, and I love to try to get pictures of the kids when they see the castle, because they just kind of walk in, well, it was just such a neat moment. Everybody at Magic Kingdom wants to have a great, fantastic time, and it just made it magical. Their overall theme is fantasy, because you escape the real world and you just enter this place of dreams. And it was wonderful to be able to play along with that and be part of it. Absolutely love seeing the pirates and the princesses and everybody enjoying this time away from reality and getting into the role of what Disney really is. And so that would probably be why Magic Kingdom is my favorite. So that's my favorite parks and some of my favorite places to work. I'd love to hear, do you agree? Do you disagree with me? Do you have something that you think would be different? I'd love to hear it in the comments. Please share it below. Don't forget to like and share the video as well. And hey, let me know what you think. Give me your suggestions. I would love to hear from you. I also want to give a huge shout out to my patrons for their support. Thank you so much for all that you do. My patrons make these videos possible and so much more. If you want to know more about Patreon and supporting me, check the links in the description below. There's also all sorts of information there about merchandise and fan sites and group pages and the gear I use and all sorts of other stuff like that. So, hey, check all that below and see what's there. I'll bet it answers some of the questions you might ask, too. Thank you so much, too, for subscribing, for watching, and supporting. You all bless me in more ways than you know. So thank you so much, and God bless. I've worked at a total of 6 different theme parks, including all 4 of the Disney... Blah, blah, blah. I've worked at 6 different theme parks, including all 4 of the major Walt Disney World parks. I get asked a lot, well, what are your favorite parks? But I still love that. That's actually... Hollywood Studios, I think, was... I don't know what I'm going with that. I don't know what I'm saying. Here I am talking on the video and I don't know what I'm talking about. I hate when that happens. Okay, here I am going with bad southern accents. Alright. It was basically... spit all over. When you watch people walk into Magic Kingdom for the first pine. Yeah, so they saw the first tree and just loved it. And especially as they come around the castle on these... Come around the castle. Ah! If you want to know whenever I have a new video out, well, hey, make sure you hit that button right there and subscribe. If you want to see another video right now, well, I've got a great one right here for you. And if you want to be like these wonderful people here and help support me financially on Patreon, well, check out that link right there and it'll take you to it. Thanks so much and God bless.